Okay, so picture this. You're in like California, right? Where all those crazy wildfires have been happening. And you're thinking, okay, how do I protect my house? What do I do?
Right.
Well, some people are going all out and like installing these personal fire hydrants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's like having your own mini fire station right there in your backyard. We found this Wall Street Journal article, and it goes deep into this whole trend and all these different ways that homeowners are taking fire safety into their own hands.
It really is a shift, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, people are starting to realize they can't always rely on, like, public services.
Right.
Especially in those high-risk areas. They're being proactive.
Totally. But these hydrants, I mean, the article mentioned the Haney hydrant specifically.
Okay.
They can't be cheap.
Definitely not a budget-friendly addition to your backyard.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But then you read about how effective they can be.
Yeah.
Like the article talks about this guy, Brent Woodworth.
Okay.
He used his hydrant and like a neighbor's pool, and he saved his house and 2 others. 80% of the homes in his neighborhood were destroyed.
That's incredible.
It makes you think, right?
It really does. It shows how those systems can be a game changer.
For sure.
But it's not just about the hydrant itself, though.
Right.
This guy had a plan. He coordinated with his neighbor. He knew what he was doing.
So it's preparation plus the right tools.
Exactly.
But the article went way beyond just the hydrants.
Yeah.
There were all kinds of fire defense tactics, almost like a homeowner's arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Some of them were pretty high tech.
I know. Like rooftop sprinklers.
Right. Creating a water shield to cool a roof down?
Yeah, and stop those embers from catching the house on fire.
It's a pretty clever solution.
Totally. And then people are using their pool pumps, too.
Oh, yeah. Another source of water.
Like turning your backyard into a mini fire station.
Exactly. But don't forget the low-tech stuff, too.
Yeah.
Like clearing brush and creating that defensible space.
Yeah, and stocking up on water in like bathtubs, rain barrels, whatever you can find.
Thinking of every angle.
But here's where it gets really interesting, community fire brigades.
Oh, yeah. Now that's where community really comes in.
Right. It's not just individuals doing their own thing.
It's about neighbors getting together, getting trained.
And fighting fire with fire like a team.
Literally.
And they're making a difference. The article said one brigade put out a fire in like 3 minutes.
That's
A lot of
amazing.
families around here,
It
the
makes you
answer
wonder,
is
could
yes.
this work in
Insurance
other
companies
places too?
just
Could we
won't
see
insure
this
that.
kind of
That's because of
community
wildfires,
approach
but some Bay Area
spreading
homeowners and
even
home
beyond
builders are taking
wildfire
action.
areas?
That's a
Consumer
great
investigator
question,
Chris
especially
Miller
since
gives
those
us a
brigades are
first-hand
so
look
effective
at 2
in
new
those first few
innovations
minutes.
designed to
Right,
save
those
homes
crucial minutes.
and homeowners
The article
insurance.
specifically mentioned defensible space
It's
is a
dry
key
in
factor.
Bonadoo,
Oh yeah,
but
having
look
that
closer at Mark
buffer
Mitchell's
zone
home.
around the houses.
It gives them a fighting
It's raining
chance.
here.
Totally.
Not
It's
from
a
the
community
clouds,
wildfire
from the
break.
roof and
Yeah.
eaves.
It looks kind
Speaking
of like
of
a car wash.
community,
To explain this
I keep
man-made
thinking about
rain
the
shower,
emotional
let's
side of all of
rewind
this.
to 2020.
The article talked about this homeowner.
This home
Kevin
video
Rosenblum.
from Mark's
He
backyard
talked
shows
about
the
how stressful it
CZU
is to
wildfire
prepare for a
sparking up.
wildfire
Do you know if any of
and
the
how
neighbors around
heartbreaking it
you
is to tell
lost
people
homes?
that their homes are
Yes.
gone.
The wildfire
Oh, wow.
raged here,
It's a good
but
reminder
spared
that
the
this
Mitchell's
isn't just
home.
about
The house
gadgets and
made it,
strategies.
but
It's
with
about people's
significant
lives.
damage.
Today,
Absolutely.
it's
It
fully
puts a human
restored,
face on the whole
plus
thing.
one
It does.
innovative
And it makes you
addition.
wonder,
Those are the
even
pipes
with
to the
all the
roof, the pipes to the
preparation,
roof.
how do people deal
That's
with
a
that
sprinkler
constant
system
threat of wildfire?
attached to
Right.
the roof
It's
and
gotta take a
under the
toll.
eaves.
Yeah, so
to
we've
fight
got
fires.
individuals
anything
taking
we do to
action,
defend
we've
the
got
house
communities
is,
banding
worth
together, but then
doing.
the article also brought
This
up these
misting
private
apparatus is the
firefighters.
brainchild
yeah.
of a company
That
called
adds another layer.
Frontline
For sure.
Wildfire
Yeah.
Defense.
So now you've got
Created after
wealthy
research
individuals
showed
and
scorching
insurance
embers
companies
can
hiring
float
their
for
own fire
miles,
crews
then
to
burn
protect
down
specific
homes and
properties.
businesses.
Interesting. So
That
it's a
was really
totally
the aha
different
moment.
approach from
Frontline
community
CEO
brigades.
Harry
Right.
Statter says
Or
this
from what
proprietary
individual
system
homeowners are
monitors
doing.
for
It
wildfires
almost feels
and
like a
embers.
separate topic.
Our
It
chopper
does.
How do
will detect
private
a fire.
firefighters fit
An app
into
warns
the
you.
bigger
Then,
picture?
unless you
Are they
decline,
helping or are they taking resources away from
remotely
public
triggers the
services?
sprinklers.
Lots of questions.
All the
Definitely a
combustibles
complex
on
issue.
and around the home
But for
are
now,
going
maybe
to be
we should stick
saturated,
to the individual
right?
and
And they're going to be
community
wetted
efforts.
down
Yeah,
to
good idea.
create
Those are
an
driving some
environment
really
that's simply
positive
too wet to
change.
burn.
Absolutely.
Water at
You know,
first.
reading
Foam
all
if
of
a
this,
fire moves
it made me
closer.
think about
This
my own
is the
neighborhood.
same Class A
We don't
biodegradable
have
foam that firefighters
wildfires,
carry on their
but
trucks.
it makes you
You simply don't need
wonder,
a firefighter
what
there to
are our
apply it.
fire hydrants?
Statter pointed out a
You know what
4-day
I
battery
mean?
Like,
backup
what can
plus
we
a
do
satellite
to
antenna.
prepare for
So if
whatever
the
might come
power
our
and
way?
internet
Exactly.
go out,
What
the
are
sprinklers
those
can
everyday
still
fires,
fight off
and
a
how
fire.
can we equip
So
ourselves
how
and our
much does a
communities to
retrofit
handle
like
them?
this cost?
That's a great
We're
way to
about
put it. I
$10
think
a
we need
square
to dig
foot.
into that a little deeper.
Let's
That's
do it.
20
Let's
grand
explore
for a
how
2,000
some of these
square foot
ideas
home.
might apply
It's
to
not a
other
cheap,
risks and
product.
challenges our
For
listeners
Mark,
might face.
it's money
Sounds
well
good to me.
spent,
Yeah.
especially
think
since
about
his
those
family's
everyday
insurance
fires,
company
right?
canceled their
The
policy.
article really
They're
stressed
now
the
in the state's
importance of
insurer
having a
of
plan.
last resort,
Yeah, not
which
just for
caps
wildfires,
coverage.
but for
The
anything.
Mitchells
Right, for any
shoulder
emergency.
significant
Like, what do you
personal
do
risk.
if the power goes
Thus,
out?
Exactly.
the sprinkler
Or a
system.
flood.
You
That
need a
becomes
plan.
part of our insurance
You need to
plan.
know what
is
to do.
try to prevent the
Because
fire.
in those moments, you just panic.
Do you think, oh no, what now?
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
No, no, no.
Just simple things.
Like a communication plan with your family.
Knowing where to meet.
Having a kit with, like, the essentials.
That kind of stuff can be a lifesaver.
It really can.
And practicing those evacuation routes.
Oh, yeah. Actually walk through it.
So you're not fumbling around in the dark
Right.
if you have to get out fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about those community fire brigades.
Yeah.
How do they train for all of this?
The article mentioned
What
they
if
work
all
with
your
the local
savings
fire departments.
turned
okay.
to
They get
ash
training in the
overnight?
basics.
For
Like, how
many,
to use
their
the
wealth
equipment.
isn't
Yeah,
in
and
bank
how to
accounts or
coordinate
stocks. It's
everything.
in their
So it's like an
homes.
extension of those
But what
professional
happens when those
services,
homes vanish
but with
in an
community
instant?
support?
Fires,
And
floods,
speaking of
natural
community
disasters,
support,
these
Yeah.
can strip away
I
not
was
just
really
your shelter,
struck
but your
by how
financial
much
security. Picture
the
this.
article
Years of
emphasized
hard work, savings,
neighbors
and dreams
helping
that
neighbors.
Yeah, it
reduced
wasn't
to
just
rubble.
about being prepared.
The emotional
as an
toll is
individual.
devastating,
Right,
but
it
the
was about
financial
coming
impact
together.
is equally
To face
crushing.
this
Home
shared
equity
threat.
gone means
Exactly.
retirement
And
plans
even
shattered,
with something
college funds
as scary
depleted,
as a
and futures
wildfire,
uncertain.
a strong
This is the
community
harsh
can make
reality
such
for
a
countless
difference.
families today.
It's a
Their
powerful
safety nets
resource, and that sense of
destroyed.
shared
So what can you
responsibility
do?
seems to be
Protect your
growing.
home,
Yeah.
protect your
The article
future.
talked about how
Because when your
even
home is your
fire
wealth,
officials
losing it means
are
losing
starting to
everything. Don't
recognize
wait
the
until it's
value
too
of
late. Take
these
action
brigades.
now.
Really?
Stay safe.
Yeah, and they're working with them to help them be even more effective.
So it's like acknowledging that we need everyone involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with these wildfires becoming more frequent and more intense.
We can't just rely on traditional firefighting forces.
Right. We need all hands on deck. And that collaborative approach,
Yeah.
bringing together residents, local authorities,
Yeah.
and even those private firefighting crews you mentioned earlier.
Right.
That could be the key to better wildfire mitigation.
Okay, but here's something I'm talking about.
Okay.
We keep talking about the good things about these personal fire hydrants.
Yeah.
But some people might say, wouldn't it be better to put all those resources together
Mm.
and invest in things like community-wide defensible space
Okay.
or better equipment for the volunteer brigades?
That's a good point. There's definitely a tension there
Right.
between individual action and what we can do together as a community.
How do we find that balance?
That's the question.
And it's not just about wildfires either.
No.
Think about other things like natural disasters or even just a power outage. Do
Yeah.
you focus on preparing yourself?
Yeah.
Or do you try to use community resources and support to be more resilient?
That's a tough one. There's no easy answer.
I know it's like a whole other deep dive.
It is.
But going back to community action for a second,
Yeah.
that story about the brigade putting out the fire in 3 minutes
Oh, yeah.
because they were right there ready to go.
It's amazing.
It really shows you what's possible.
It does, and I think that's a big part of why these brigades are so effective.
Yeah,
They're often the first ones on the scene. They know the area,
right.
and they can respond quickly even before the pros get there.
It's like a neighborhood watch for wildfires.
I like that.
I remember a few years ago we had this huge snowstorm. Our chute was completely blocked off.
Oh, wow.
And it was incredible to see everyone helping each other out.
Oh, that's great.
Shoveling driveways, checking on the older folks, sharing food.
Yeah.
It really brought everyone together.
That's a great example of how people just naturally want to help each other out in those situations.
Right.
And I think that community spirit is crucial for any kind of preparedness effort to really work.
Absolutely. It's about knowing you're not alone,
Right.
that you have people you can count on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to that big question.
Yeah, is this trend of personal fire hydrants and community brigades something we'll see in other places?
Beyond California, I mean.
Exactly. Are these solutions specific to wildfire areas?
Right?
Or could they be adapted for other risks and challenges?
What do you think?
I think it goes beyond just the specific tactics.
Like having the fire hydrant in your backyard.
Right. It's about those underlying principles.
Preparedness, individual responsibility, community collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those ideas are relevant no matter where you live.
I agree. And what I find really interesting is how this trend kind of blurs the lines
Oh, how so?
between individual responsibility and collective action.
Okay.
It's not just about protecting yourself.
Right.
It's about understanding that your actions affect your neighbors
Yeah.
and their actions affect you.
It's like this web of preparedness.
Exactly. So how do we take all of this and apply it to other situations?
Right. We've been talking about wildfires, but
Yeah.
what about other threats?
Like hurricanes, floods, earthquakes.
Exactly.
Well, I think one of the key takeaways from the wildfire example is to really understand your specific risks.
Okay.
What are the hazards that are most likely to affect you where you live?
So like a risk assessment for your life.
Yeah. What are the potential fires you might face?
And how can I be prepared for them?
Exactly. And this could go beyond natural disasters, too.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Economic downturns,
Yeah.
or job loss, even health challenges.
Wow.
How can you build resilience in those areas of your life?
So it's like having a fire hydrant for every situation.
I love that.
Whether it's a financial safety net, a strong support network,
Yeah.
or just a good plan for dealing with whatever life throws at you.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it highlights that preparedness isn't just about having stuff.
Right. It's not just about the equipment.
It's about having the knowledge, the skills, the mindset
It's to adapt.
to overcome challenges.
So it's not just surviving, it's thriving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even when things get tough.
Huh.
But let's go back to community engagement for a minute.
Okay.
What are some practical things people can do?
To build those connections.
Yeah, to foster that sense of shared responsibility.
It could be as simple as getting to know your neighbors.
Yeah, go to community meetings.
Volunteer.
It's about building those relationships before a crisis hits.
And I bet social media can play a role too.
Oh, absolutely. For communication?
Yeah, for sharing information.
Organizing efforts.
So even if you're not worried about wildfires,
Yeah.
there's still a lot we can learn from what's happening in California.
Right.
It's about being proactive, building those community bonds
And being prepared.
for whatever comes your way.
Well said. I
Yeah.
think that's a powerful message for everyone.
It is.
It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, that we have a responsibility to each other,
Yeah,
and that by working together, we can build more resilient communities.
absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
And to personal fire hydrants and homeowner preparedness.
what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think one of the biggest ones is that preparedness isn't just about reacting to a crisis.
Right.
It's about taking steps beforehand to mitigate those risks and build resilience.
It's not waiting for the fire to start.
It's about having those fire hydrants in place before you need them.
Exactly. And this applies to everything.
Right, not just wildfires.
Think about your finances, your health, your relationships, your mental well-being.
Yeah.
What are the potential fires in your life, and how can you be ready for them?
That's such a good point. It's like expanding the idea of a fire hydrant.
Beyond the actual object.
Right. It's about having those resources, those support systems, those strategies in place.
To handle whatever challenges come up.
Exactly. It's not just about getting by. It's about thriving.
Even when things are tough.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really is empowering to realize we can do something.
It is. You know what surprised me the most?
What's that?
It was how inventive those homeowners were.
Oh, yeah.
Rooftop sprinklers, using pool pumps for firefighting.
I know.
It's like they're coming up with all these solutions you wouldn't find in a manual.
They're like wildfire preparedness hackers.
I like that.
And I think we can learn from that,
Yeah.
even if we're not dealing with wildfires ourselves.
Right. It's about being resourceful,
Thinking outside the box.
finding ways to adapt and overcome.
Exactly. So whether it's a wildfire, a financial problem, even a DIY project, maybe we need to channel our inner California homeowner.
I love it. And don't forget about community.
Right.
The article really showed how powerful that could be.
Neighbors helping each other out
Sharing resources, working together.
to build a stronger neighborhood,
Exactly. That's something we can all do.
no matter where we live. So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
we want to hear from you.
Tell us about your fire hydrants.
Those things that make you feel prepared and secure
What steps are you taking to build resilience?
on your own or with your community.
How are you facing those everyday fires?
Share your thoughts in the comments.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into personal fire hydrant.
And the power of preparedness.
Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay connected.